Hey folks, this is Alex Coulombe, Lead Experience Architect of Agile Lens Immersive Design and the Creative Director of Virtual Experience. And today I'm going to give you a very brief tutorial on how to take the excellent new VR template designed by Tom Loonan and using it to actually navigate to spots that are higher than the ground level. So for those of you who are familiar with the setup here, there's basically two maps. Feel free to ignore that one. I'm just going to delete it. That one is for the Vive motion controllers. This one is for Oculus headset. And the whole idea here is you're pretty much getting teleportation, and yeah, if you have the Vive, you can do some stuff with cubes and pick up objects. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Our goal is going to be able to get up onto objects that are higher than the ground level. So this was a bit of a learning process for me. Thanks to Tom for answering my bazillion questions, and I'm happy to pass this stuff on to you guys now. So the key thing going on in here is if you press P on your keyboard, P as in Peter, you're going to see the nav mesh bounds volume area. That's the green is basically where you can navigate to. And what we want to do is we want to get some green up on some higher spots. These are actually pretty tall right now, so I'm going to lower them a little bit just so that when we're in VR, we're going to be able to see them. But real quick, actually, let's take a look at where we can navigate right now using the Vive in this motion controller map when I press play. So as you can see, I am unable to get up onto any of those higher points. So a couple things we're going to adjust. First is we're going to go down and find the recast nav mesh default, which I believe just comes with the nav mesh bounds volume when you insert that into a scene. And this is going to basically give us our settings for how this green is created. So a couple of things you can adjust here safely. One is the cell size. So that's pretty much going to affect, how much space you put around objects. If you want to get in a little bit tighter, say you have like a maze or, a level where there's just a lot of very tight spaces, maybe you want that to be something smaller, let's say 5. So that's going to tighten that up a little bit. And say 3. Great. And then agent radius, that also would tighten that up. We'll just show you what happens. The problem, though, is I discovered that if you make that anything less than 35, teleportation ceases to work, so leave that at 35. Then the other two settings you are going to want to be able to play with are the slope and the step height. That's going to be what allows us to get up onto taller things. So let's make the slope, for example, just to be extreme, let's say 90, and let's make the step height 200. Now, you might think, yeah, you see all this weird stuff going on with some of those cubes, but you might notice, oh, look, there's still nothing going on these spots. Well, there's a couple things actually preventing us from being able to have green up here, one of which is the nav modifier volume, which is basically saying, like, you can't navigate here. You'll see if I move this out, it actually turns that into a bit of a dead zone. I'll actually leave it just so that we can, see how that affects the scene later. But then the other thing is right now, if we look at the nav mesh bounds volume size right now, it's actually a little bit too short to be able to include some of those top spaces. This is it right here. So we're actually going to have to make sure that's tall enough. And we'll change that in the scale. Let's make it, 8. And you'll see now we're starting to interact with those. So we should, in theory, be able to get up onto some of these spaces. Maybe that wants to be a little bit shorter. Well, it should work anyway. And then just to demonstrate the ramping item, let's drop in a cube real quick and let's make it into a ramp. Make it a little bit wider, rotate it. Oh, so embarrassing. I don't know the Unreal keyboard shortcuts. And let's see what that does. In theory, we should be able to, make it up there. Looks like that'll probably work. I think it sees that as a step. Let's drop down the step height just a little bit because I think it's making things kind of wacky. That looks a little better. And then also, let's just get in one more cube. I've noticed that sometimes when you're dealing with something that has a room scale element, like a Vive, sometimes it wants to be able to deal with the deal with the entire size of the room scale, so that can cause some issues sometimes. So let's make sure that's gonna work okay. It should. Well, let's find out. Okay, we're gonna press play. Let's see what happens. Okay, I think we can call that an unmitigated success. So hopefully that helps you with the Vive. Now, real quick, I'm going to open up the Oculus, the HMD one, which is going to be it's going to look a little bit different for you, or respond a little bit differently for you if you're using an Oculus instead of a Vive. But basically, what I want to show you is that right now, if we teleport in here, just trust me, because I'm not going to put the headset back on at the moment, but if you teleport in here, yes, you're very much stuck to the ground, and there's actually not a nav mesh volume in here right now. If I press P, nothing comes up. P as in Peter. And so what we want to do is we want to add in that nav mesh volume to pretty much accomplish the same thing that we just did with the Vive map, the motion controller map there. Whoops, wrong one. We want nav mesh bounds volume, and we want to make sure that's big enough to encompass the entire scene. That looks about right. Now if we press P, hopefully we see something. There we go. So we're seeing some green. Okay, and so then again, that nav mesh bounds volume came in with a recast nav mesh default. Real mouthful there. And again, we can change a few settings in here. Let's make the cell size 5. Let's make the agent radius 35. Don't change that. Again, terrible things will happen. Let's make the max slope 90. Let's make the max step height. I mean, you know, we could also just leave these things. Like, these are kind of normal numbers, so you could also just decide to work within those. So again, let's try creating a cube. Make the cube big enough for a room scale scenario. I haven't seen as many problems with that stuff when you're just doing Oculus headset scale, whatever you want to call that. And then let's just do a ramp as well. Go cube 12 1. Great, that looks reasonable, I think. Actually, we might need that to go a little bit further down. All right, although that's not connected. There we go. I think that's what you're going for there. Yeah, you want that full connection. Okay, so this is the Oculus. I won't be able to use the Vive controller, so I'll be using an Xbox controller. Let's see what happens. Great. Okay. Looked for a second like it wasn't working on that little platform there because, yeah, I guess we're not quite getting a step, but it did work. So, yeah, I mean, the ramp thing worked perfectly. And then for whatever reason, it seemed like we needed to go down from there. But anyway, I hope that was helpful to you guys for anyone who wants to be able to move vertically in using the fantastic new template here. Again, my name's Alex, and I'll have a couple more tutorials for this coming out soon, so feel free to subscribe and check those out, and hope this was helpful. Have a good day.